Hi, my name's Dave. I'm also known as InfectedFlinch. It's been a while, eh? So before we start, spoilers are abound in this. If you haven't completed the game, get out now. You've been warned. Cyberpunk 2077. Wow. I mean, let's just take a minute. Wow. So let's be honest. You've clicked this video expecting this to be a thing about me ranting and raving about how bad this game is. This is not going to be that kind of video. It's easy to shit on the absolute technical and game design mess that this thing is, but coming from being in the game industry for a good 3 or so years now, I know more now than I used to when I started this channel so many moons ago. The thing is, Cyberpunk as a genre is important to me. For anyone who's known me or been on this channel long enough, I have a deep love for it. The Matrix, Final Fantasy VII, Akira, Ghost in the Shell, Blade Runner, and of course, the Philips CDI classic, well to me at least, Burn Cycle, a game that I've ended up with a tattoo of because of how important it was to me growing up. With all this in mind, Cyberpunk 2077, when it was first announced, I had no interest in it whatsoever. That incredibly stylized and gorgeous trailer showing the young woman as bullets through the air, I was so cold to it. I just didn't care. I stayed the hell away from it in terms of the hype. Something irked me, something felt off, and I just couldn't put my finger on why. More and more trailers over the years came and went. It was only finally when it released and I saw the carnage that was wrought on it. I had to see it for myself. I tried The Witcher 3 first just to see what CD Projekt Red was all about. And then I loaded a PS4 version of the game onto a PS5 and stepped into what I can only describe as the most beautiful disaster piece I have ever experienced. Ladies and gents, I want to take you on my journey of Cyberpunk 2077. From the get-go, the game is a technical nightmare to deal with. I came to the game 6 months after the initial release where CDPR thought the game was stable enough. Yeah, it could have fooled me. Anyway, I created my character, a female V with weird piercing eyes and a penchant for odd blue lipstick. I thought it was a bit weird and funny at first seeing her aimlessly stare into the mirrors in the game and just never really react whenever I pressed the menu choices that were given. After a while though, I found myself doing it just to remind myself that I actually had a face. She was my V. V's female voice at first was strange to me. I couldn't understand why she was so constantly angry in every conversation that she had, but I found myself weirdly warming to her.
Not too tight. As snug as a glove. Feels like I've been wearing it a while. Don't you think you have? You earned this jacket. And the Aldecalder's devotion. Thanks, man. If you want to talk.
Everyone in Night City has their own agendas, their own power players, and she wants to be the best. However, I found myself questioning the nature of the game. Dialogue choices felt weird, and their subsequent answers even weirder.
How do you know the threat's real and not just a joke in poor taste?
V, that last letter I got was a bomb. Security got to it first, of course, but... You see what I'm dealing with?
Uh-huh. Doesn't get more real than that. Our guy, you know anything about him?
Nothing.
The phone and message calls were janky at best. Some of the fixes that gave you jobs were just plain odd. And, well, you could say I didn't care for some of them after a while. Sometimes they wouldn't work, or in the case of River Ward, they would just glitch out forever, and I could never speak to him again. I mean, he was a milquetoast character, but still, I wanted to talk to him.
And these problems with the law, those didn't pop out of thin air.
True. But Randy takes after his old man.
Some perks felt odd, level progression felt weird, churning weapons over and over felt like a chore, and the glitches. I mean, it's unacceptable.
You don't know what they... how many times they... every day.
I got a woman stuck in a lift at one point. I had to keep going up and down to grab her, otherwise the mission was going to soft lock. But the weird part of it was, with my female V, I found after so long that whoever did this voice work was perfect with such an imperfect script. She genuinely made my character have personality. Certain phrases like choom, flatlined and preem seemed to flow from her like they were second nature. And if it hadn't been for her, Johnny Silverhand would have been way worse.
You can let me do that. Or you can try Panam and her tarmac rats. But then their lives will weigh heavy on your soul. Or you take Arasaka's deal, but then you'll have your own soul on your conscience.
Okay, so controversy ahoy. As I said earlier, I love The Matrix, and I love Keanu Reeves. But man, I couldn't get past why they cast him as Johnny. There were moments in there where I was just like, he's phoning that in. Or just not understanding the words. It didn't help that the game was making him look like a fucking potato in some points. The weird part I found, however, was Tales from the Borderlands did the exact same setup with Handsome Jack in Reese's head. Literally like for like. They stick a chip in their heads, random construct shows up, starts taking over, they start making friends with each other, and Tales did it way better. Every step of the way with Johnny, I was expecting him to have some kind of personality. And man, it just didn't work. He just fucking complained constantly. If I hadn't played Tales from the Borderlands, I probably could have just taken this concept seriously enough. But this is the main thrust of Cyberpunk. Stop Johnny from taking over, learn about his past life, and make a choice about it. However, I was unsure of a lot of things. That may come down to cuts from the game, confusion, glitches, or I just plain missed things. I know you'll all comment, but I just think I shouldn't have to research to fucking understand this nonsense. It should be there for me to, understand. I'm simple. Ah! But anyway, here, let's go through some of the things that I just didn't get. A groupie named Alt Cunningham shows up, fucks Johnny, and then becomes a superpowered AI in cyberspace. Why? How? Who was she? Why was she so good? What's the Black Wall? Why do I care about it? Should I even care about it? And whilst we're at it, Goro Takamura went missing. I have no idea. Where's my Goro gone? Why did the Badlands feel so empty? Why is everything so childish? It's like the script was written by a 14-year-old boy finding out what his dick does. I mean, what the fuck is happening here? What were Max Tech? Why did that get mentioned in the loading screen so much? Why can't I eat food whilst fighting? The cars go missing, or pretend they're coming and never come, or they're just flat. Flat. But you see, maybe I missed a few beats. Maybe I should have looked. Who knows? But perhaps that's the weird flashes of ingenuity in Cyberpunk 2077. Perhaps I was never meant to know. Maybe I was meant to fill the gaps. Or maybe those gaps were just forgotten to be put in. Oh, before we carry on though, we gotta talk Adam Smasher.
You look like a cut of fuckable meat, are you?
This guy! You literally see him in just bits and pieces throughout the game, and then you have one gigantic fight with him, and my word, it is fucking glorious. Sure, it glitched out for me when he absolutely crushed Saul's head, or made Rogue completely disappear when he ripped her heart out. I think it might have been a grenade that killed her and she blew up into pieces. But you gotta love the fact that Adam Smasher thinks everybody has meat.
V, looking good. You mean, considering the shit we've been through?
Well, factor that in and you look fucking amazing.
So what's the latest from Clouds? Know anything?
So maybe that's it.
Nothing
When it
of
does
any
characters well, it works.
Got a new
But the part of the game that genuinely
trying to
made me
adapt.
feel something was Judy's side quest.
Doesn't sound
Something
like
about that
it's all
whole
okay.
setup of the quest from the
Doesn't
beginning
mean it isn't.
to the very end just worked for me.
Any news from the Mocksters? Events? Ideas?
This woman you meet who seems nondescript and wants
Don't see all
nothing to
that
do
much
with
of
you is simply trying to
come?
survive. She suddenly becomes part of
You
your
know how
life
they
and
are.
opens up to you
Piss me off
slowly over
sometimes
time.
is all.
And the way it unfolds is something strangely brilliant, and you end up in an underwater town where she used to live. Connected to you via
That's
link,
incredible.
you both begin to hear each other's
What
thoughts.
Our very own Atlantis. Used to be called Laguna Bend. Just 15 years ago, people still lived here.
What happened here? Why'd it get flooded?
'Cause someone stood to profit.
Gorgeous music begins to permeate the scene. I saw through the lines of code. I started to believe. I could see what CD Projekt Red wanted to do. I knew that game they wanted was in the jank. I wanted to believe. But let's go over the music in this game. It is simply sublime. It is perfection. And I don't say that lightly. I mean it in a way that almost makes up for all the nonsense this game is doing.
X took revenge for Hiromi and the rest. There was a firefight. Tom's dead. Roxanne barely got out alive. House is closed until further notice.
And I think that's why, almost like someone with Stockholm Syndrome, I secretly started to fall in love with the game. At this point, I believe I'd racked up to 60 hours in the game, and I'd managed to unlock 4 different endings, all of varying degrees of quality. The game definitely has a certain bent towards one particular romance and happy ending, which slightly annoyed me in my situation, I can tell you. I went off into the sunset in the best possible way with this game, with 6 months left to live. And I could hear my sweet Judy somewhere. But I don't want Pan Am touching me up on a tank, thank you very much. Hashtag Team Judy, yo! Night City itself feels weird to me personally. I feel that every district was meant to have its own personality and scope, but I never really got that feeling. Except for Pacifica, the Badlands, and bits around Arasaka Tower, I never got a sense of the other areas as living, breathing entities. I think this is where The Witcher 3 really shone, and Cyberpunk needed that little bit more time in the oven. It didn't help that I kept on getting out of the world as well. Thing is now, I'm exhausted from what Cyberpunk 2077 has put me through. The constant bugs, the odd story beats, crashes, and just weird things. Man, I'm at a loss with it. For every beautiful moment they do, they ruin it with something they've made intentionally, or the game breaks due to this weird lot of jank and glitching. But you know, I'd go back in a heartbeat. I'd go back to that place to check on the friends, the enemies, and the romance I made there. I'd want to know what happened to V with what little time she had left. What did she do? Where did she go? Did she find a cure? The credits makes you hear those that you interacted with throughout the game, leaving messages like they don't know if you're dead or not. It's haunting. Because yeah, the end scenario is fucking horrendous. And maybe that's why I like it so much. Sometimes life doesn't give you a clear happy ending, and sometimes it's best to live in hope rather than misery. For all that cybernetic, digital and futuristic ideals, it hits a weird human note. I guess that in itself is why I think despite all the mess, the controversy, the jank, the absolute state of some of it, is why it's the perfect disaster piece.
Well, it's perfect. All great, Pan Am. We're going home.
What a coincidence!
But right now, I wouldn't mind catching a few winks.
Need help?
Fuck off. Huh. Do you know what they call these storms in North Africa? Abrupts. Damn, I love that word.
Yes, pow!
Okay, I'll help.
Come on.
Let's go. Nobody's gonna notice you gone back at camp? As long as nobody can see us there
I end you here and now. I see you got everything planned out, but you forgot just one thing. I've also got a dodge it.
All right, V, get out of there.
Comment, like, and subscribe as you normally do. Thanks for watching.